we have the importance of NFTs and DAOs. This is actually my talk that I'm moderating with some amazing individuals. So come on up, guys. We got Gordon, Adam, and Raza. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. How you doing? Good. I've been emceeing, riffing a little bit up here since 1 o'clock, so you get the benefit. Have a seat. Have a seat. So we're here to talk a little bit about why NFTs are essential to DAOs. So it would be great if you actually introduced yourselves, and for the folks that haven't, just hopped in, I'll give a reintroduction of myself. But please, Raza, we'll go first.
Hello everyone. I'm Raza. I'm head of developer relations at Third Web. I'm basically evangelizing the use of Third Web and Web3. We're a platform to deploy smart contracts. Basically, do whatever you want, like ERC 721, 20 tokens, minting NFTs, building DAOs. But you use JavaScript, React, Python, or no code instead of messing around with Solidity. I have a bit of an following on Twitter, and I'm just here to meet a network and meet our partners.
Fantastic.
Cool. My name is Adam Levy. I'm the host of Mint, a Web3 creator economy podcast where I kind of do founder-like interviews, interviewing creators, founders, and collectors building for the creator economy. Also active DAO participant. I think I'm a DGen for the most part. Happy to be here.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gordon Berger. I'm one of the early crypto art kind of pioneers in the space, and I've been involved in blockchain for 10 years, thanks to my best friend. And I'm happy to be here speaking about NFTs and DAOs. And let's kick it off.
All right. And for everybody, how you doing? I'm Mike Kriak, managing operating partner at Consensus Mesh, where we focus on investing and incubating Web3 companies, most specifically and recently within DAOs that are focused on building and creating things like CC0 DAO and Ready Player DAO as an example. Adam, maybe I'll pass it off to you first to be able to chat a little bit about perhaps what you see in some of the folks that you've been interviewing, this broad concept. What do we mean when we say why NFTs are important for DAOs? What roles do NFTs themselves, the utility, the functionality exist? How does that actually, why are they important? What do we mean by that?
So I'll take it from a different point of view, okay? Because early stages of DAOs, we saw fungible tokens as the premise, as the foundation of setting up an incentive-aligned community. And it's slowly now shifting from the creator side to more membership-related passes as a way to kind of build a top-level funnel to create more of an audience on chain. So when you think about why NFTs are important to DAOs, I think it really boils down to the incentive structures that come with owning something, and primarily owning something that has aligned incentives in a group of people that are also co-owning that asset with you, right? Because if you have co-ownership, you have aligned incentives in a community that you're collectively building together, you can kind of grow together, you guys die together, and it's all in unison. So I think it kind of very much boils down to that.
Yeah, incentive structures. Yeah, guys, thoughts?
I think it's really interesting to kind of see this transition, moving from ERC20 tokens for the governance and for actually kind of the main kind of architecture for building DAOs to kind of more these NFT membership collections. So I think that's a really, really interesting way. I think creators can also benefit a great lot from it. So yeah, it's really, really interesting to kind of see that update in the community. Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's a transition that made sense. Because if you look at on a smart contract level, the ownership of an ERC20 is not unique compared to the ownership of ERC 721. I mean, sure, you can validate it. I mean, in ERC20, you can validate whether your wallet holds that token or not. But an ERC 721 gives you on multiple levels that distinct membership versus an ERC20. And we spoke about it a little bit backstage as well. I really think that the purpose of an ERC20 is different as well. So if you look at what the purpose of an ERC21 is, it's to have to show this uniqueness, this unique token that you own, versus an ERC20 which has more a purpose to exchange. It has an exchangeable purpose. So if you talk about the transition towards ERC 721 to display a membership, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm on Rug Radio's DAO Council, and this is actually the token model that we've laid out, which is to say that there's a specific RDAO token that represents the DAO participation and governance, which is completely separate from kind of the liquid engine, which is the rug token. And the importance of that, one, from certainly don't have regulatory clarity on this, but try to continue to evolve the practice of ensuring that the governance, there is an opportunity to convert those rug tokens into one RDAO token so that you're able to kind of, as you grow and develop the community, as the gross marketplace value extends and creates, you're able to kind of grow and create your percentage stake in the larger DAO and really have your voice be heard as you participate in the economy.
So I want to add something because a DAO is very much just like a new legal structure for a company, right? And companies are businesses. Businesses need to make money. You need cash flow, right? And the membership model has kind of poised to be a better model for introducing cash flow into a shared treasury, whereas more of a liquid ERC20 type of asset is more speculative, right? And you can monetize like the transaction fees, but it's kind of frowned upon. But with NFTs, when you introduce a membership pass, right, or some type of other pass represented as an NFT, you have the primary sales and you have the secondary sales as a way to introduce reoccurring revenue into the treasury. So that gives the DAO a foundation to live, breathe, operate, unlike more of an ERC20 focused DAO, right? And you see this with Bored Ape, you've seen this with Rug Radio. At least Bored Ape introduced the 720 model, 721 model, right? 1155s. A bunch of DAOs did this, or communities did this. And then they introduced the ERC20 as a way to impose governance, for example, in a more token-based community. So,
yeah, or for example, benefits of staking the ERC 721. So that's like another use case.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me at least from this conversation, the first point I certainly wanted to make, and I'm glad we were able to make it together, is this notion of how a membership pass that is represented either perhaps as a PFP or perhaps not, just simply as a card or literally a pass that's reflected like proof for others, that becomes the way, one, of your access, but also of your voice within the DAO. I'd like to actually jump a little bit around that and to begin to discuss a little bit more about actually flipping the title and focus on why DAOs are important for NFTs. And so one of the things, at least from my perspective, that's incredibly important is to be able to figure out how we're actually building within DAOs, which I think are the best structure for NFT projects, say specifically PFP NFT projects. It was funny, when I was speaking here last year, I kind of was talking about next generation NFTs, and I realized quickly fractional ownership, et cetera, everybody was talking about it. So I kind of scrapped it and was like, wait a second, how many folks know that if their PFP projects are in DAOs and have a voice? And like people were kind of half raising their hand. They weren't even sure if their NFT project was in a DAO or not. And I think it's a question that how are you actually going to be able to grow what you see as something that's a digital asset that's valuable if you don't even know what's being built or how it's being developed, or assuming somebody else is going to do it? So just curious here for this group's, your thoughts about the importance of DAOs for NFT projects.
I mean, there are multiple angles you can tackle this at. If you're talking about a DAO or a project that's still in development, I mean, a DAO is, we did a project with Build Space where we showed that a DAO essentially consists of an X amount of smart contracts, but voting is very important. And so essentially what it does is it gives the community voting powers to influence a project or a roadmap. Whether that's from an art perspective or something that we are closely working with, which means you have actually a product roadmap and you might release features, because NFTs can be functional as well. And you might prioritize it different because your community wants different features in different order. So you might have an NFT as a membership, but the actual project of the NFT, the actual realization of the actual NFT would actually be a sort of a development where the DAO has influence. Members in the DAO have an influence on where it goes and where the trajectory goes. Even, and again, it can go as far as what does the financial model look like? How are you going to make money? Maybe there are ways that the community doesn't want to make money off. Let's say you want to sell T-shirts. The community says, well, we kind of don't want to do that. You know, we sponsored or we helped build a DAO that creates sneakers. Literally, you got a very simple NFT to become a member of that DAO, But then the whole idea was we're gonna create sneakers, and the design will be co-influenced by the members of that DAO. So that's, I think, a very tangible example of how it's a company. I mean, they want to make a profit, but they're giving their members a say in what the actual product is going to look like.
I'm curious, for the audience, how many of you guys are actually in a DAO, by a show of hands? Okay, now keep your hands up. No, keep your hands up. Now, who's actually voted on a proposal? If you haven't, put your hand down.
That's certainly better than last year.
Yeah. So when you think about why are DAOs important for NFTs, a DAO is just a group chat with a bank account, right? Like if you strip everything away, and I know some people hate that definition, but I think that's what it comes down to, right? And the group chat feels like the DAO, and the bank account feels like all the tokens that everybody in the group chat holds, right? So for the longest time, we've been the products of platforms that we've kind of spent the most time in, right? And sure, you could say we're seeing like membership-based DAOs, but also we're seeing platforms introduce tokenized assets as a way to form community, where us, as the people who use the platform, we now have a say in the day-to-day of how these things operate and kind of roll out. So for the first time ever, we've been able to put our money into something and have a voice in it digitally, right? And provably have a voice in it. And when you're spending hundreds to thousands of dollars because you believe something, right? Even if it's $20, it'd be cool to have a say in what happens, right? I think NFTs, though, on the other hand, you know, when you form a DAO around an ERC20, power comes in how much money you have, right? And if you form a DAO based off a non-fungible token where one wallet has one token, I think you create more of a democratic experience for that community. And you see the evolution of DAOs. You see the evolution, let's say, FWB, which is like the commercial use case, the commercial kind of success story with Andreessen investing into it and everybody kind of using that as like the pinnacle group. They started off as an ERC20, as a fungible token. But from members that I've talked to in the community, if they could do it again, they tell me that they would do a non-fungible token, you know? And now you see groups like Developer DAO, which we're part of. Their entrance into the community was with a non-fungible token, and I'm pretty sure they already issued the fungible token, right? So, yeah.
I love that. I'm a big fan of what Nouns does and Lil Nouns. I think it's a nice hybrid. What's it? Yeah, totally. Yeah. So in this instance, for those of you that might not be familiar, it's certainly an automated way in which I think a DAO is established to do several things at the same time. One, to be able to effectively enable a membership. So in, say, Little Noun's case, every 15 minutes, a new NFT is minted that is an auction that you have the opportunity to bid on. So it enables this way to slowly drip in the notion of minting of an NFT project and then slowly enable a larger community to participate. The treasury is active, and you can see that. So in Lil Noun's case, there's, I think, 1,000 or so ETH, maybe a little bit more at the moment. But then it's up to us that own Lil Nouns to be able to vote on proposals or to establish proposals. And say in Noun's case, doing Noun's vision to be able to actually create a fashion project. To me, these are examples of things that must be done in NFT projects. To me, the number one thing here is to take away is the fact that you have to be actually building something. You can't just be watching the floor. Maybe we watch the floor a little bit more these days for understandable reasons. But what exactly, who has control of the treasury? What is exactly, are we hiring smart people? If you bill yourselves as an entertainment brand, if you bill yourselves as creating the future of the metaverse or entertainment or gaming, who's building it? And who's paying for that in the treasury, and how is that happening? So I'm a huge advocate of having full-time staff that are employed by the DAO that is, voted on and discussed so as to be able to determine the best way to chart that course.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think the DAO structure could also be really beneficial for artists and other creators. It can kind of create a really strong sense of community around a certain artist. And then the funds raised can actually enable the artist to kind of have enough funds for production, for awareness, for maybe even like hiring certain people to allow the artist to kind of focus on creating a stronger and better project. So I think that's a really interesting new model that would be enabled by Web3 for many, many different artists, opposed to the traditional route of like going to a lower tier gallery, then to a bigger gallery, and then taking 20 years basically till you can actually create some of the projects that you dream of. So I think it's a really, really interesting way that many creators will see in the future kind of utilize it. So yeah,
that's my favorite example. As a creator myself, does anybody here collect music NFTs? Anybody enjoy doing that?
Cooper, are you here?
Yeah, so I've been collecting a lot of music NFTs. I've been covering it on the podcast for, I feel like, over a year now. And I'm a musician myself, and for the first time ever, we're seeing really interesting ways for music artists to kind of liberate themselves creatively, but also do it in a way where they build these modern-day fan clubs at the same time, right? And you build this modern-day fan club with aligned incentives, aligned co-ownership, and you feel like you're a part of the artist's success.
Do you want to talk about Chaos, for example?
Yeah, so Chaos is a 77-person headless group, okay, that goes by the name of Chaos. They have, I think it's one of the most well-executed, one of the most creative projects in the music NFT space. I've minted, I feel like, quite a few already myself. They just performed for the first time, a few of them here at NFT.NYC.
And they met for the first time,
and they met for the first time, too. But it's essentially, it's a collective that was created by this guy named Matthew Chaim, who's also an NFT artist, music NFT artist. And he basically orchestrated this group that they meet biannually, right, called Song Camp. They put their heads together for a couple weeks, and they produce all this music that they then go and tokenize and do a huge drop around, right? And all the artists, all 77 of them, have rev share in the entire project because they all collectively contributed to it. So artists could be an operator, a developer, a drummer, a producer, an engineer. Everybody is kind of under this brand called Chaos. And you see this band that kind of resembles like an orchestra and more traditional, but they all have aligned incentives and they're all in it to win it together, right? Because they all want to see this project succeed, and their efforts contribute directly to the output that's kind of produced from it, right? Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much. And I would only just add and pick up on the notion of fandom. I mean, part of the fun is the collectability of it, right? So the UX on site is once you open up the pack, it's very similar to open up a pack of gaming cards, and there's a collectability. You get to see various songs, various genres, and there's a desire, there's a rareability that comes along with that as well. I think the reason why I think we wanted to raise that is that there's this confluence of being able to have artists and fans and economics and creativity coming together that are absolutely essential to be able to create a successful project, and the ways in which a DAO and the DAO is the way in which you participate in that. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I think it's also much more efficient, it's executed in a much more simple manner because you have products like OX splits that you can just kind of add everybody's addresses. There aren't really convoluted contracts and distribution deals and all this bullshit that would kind of be entailed in traditional music. It's just like, all right, send me your contract. This is the percentage that's allocated to you. Once we sell something, it's executed and automated and airdropped to everybody, right? It's like so streamlined. And imagine if you could bring all that on-chain, but now it's a completely different structure, conversation. Yeah.
Exactly. So questions, or prepare to begin to get questions? Actually, yeah, I'll come down. Everybody gets to watch me run.
I'm sorry? Can I record their answer?
Sure. Yeah.
Whatever. I'll ask it from here. Hi, I'm Giovanni. One of the questions I wanted to ask is about DAOs and memberships, and why is there something better in doing, say, going the NFT route as opposed to going the community token route that you see with DAOs such as Friends with Benefits, GCR? And then to follow that up, I'm just curious of what are your thoughts about what are some of the trends with DAOs in this space?
I could answer the membership part, and then you guys maybe can answer the trends if you'd like. My opinion, I think about it from like a human point of view. I've been a part of clubs before. I've bought membership passes before to join things. And I feel like to the everyday consumer, membership passes make much more sense than like buying a stock that fluctuates, right? And it's not really a stock, but it reminds the everyday person of like a stock's activity. So when I join a club, I go and I buy a membership pass, right? And it's whether it's an annual membership pass or a monthly membership pass, it just makes more sense to me from a marketing point of view. I also think it's much easier to kind of build out. Like you buy one thing and you're in, right? If you look at other DAO models, you have to buy like 75 tokens or 60 tokens or 50 tokens. And the prices of those tokens kind of may fluctuate, give or take of the market. Now, that's not to say that membership passes can't do that either, but I don't know. I think it's a much more simpler approach to starting a community by having like one token that you buy to enter the community.
Yeah.
Sorry, especially if you're, for example, our creator that already creates NFTs. So we're essentially already producing tokens that your collector owns, or you're essentially already building a community. So yeah, the only other layer you kind of have to add to that is some sort of a decision making for that community, and you already have a DAO. So like it's a way more straightforward and less complicated than actually integrating a new token on top of that if you don't have a real use case for that. So I think that most people that create NFTs can actually kind of just have the structure as they already do without adding the extra layer.
Yeah, and I think there's actually a more simpler approach, and that's the ERC 1155. I think that it's very much, I want to say an underdog, but it's more or less was created, if I recall correctly, more for gaming, like being able to stack, like let's say the same type of assets, so an image or whatever it is, but then have unique token IDs on it. So it's actually very much a useful case for if you're going the flip route that was suggested before, like, okay, hey, how can a DAO benefit NFT? Well, then an ERC 1155 for a membership makes a lot of sense because you create the asset once, and every member has a unique token ID. And then for the actual NFT project, you would have the ERC 721. So, and again, DAO structures really matter then in whether you opt for a 721A or a 721 itself, and then incentivized structures are very important. So if you talk about what's an efficient route, I definitely think more people should look at the ERC 1155 when they start out, because it's just more effective, it's very more efficient. And then to answer your second question, trends, I'm actually pretty much flabbergasted. My background is I'm an accountant by profession, actually. And to no other profession does a DAO make more sense if you talk about operations and making sure that you're able to effectively execute on your purpose. So the trends in DAOs is actually for everything. I'm talking a lot to partners at the moment. So we're a developer platform. I see developer platforms transitioning into DAOs, meaning different departments inside a company, think of HR, finance, think of the engineering team, they're becoming sub-DAOs inside an overall DAO that report to a committee. But they're allocated, let's say, my team has 1 million budget, and we decide on how to spend that. We have our own voting contract. We have our own ERC20 like voting token, and we get to do whatever we want. And let's say we run out of money, then we actually request it from, let's say, the head DAO again. And there is an accountability perspective. There is a board. So I think DAOs and sub-DAOs is super interesting. And if you ask me the trend, slowly what's going to happen is more and more people are going to, or more and more organizations are going to transition to it. I think sub-DAO is a measure to scale it. That's the biggest issue. How are you going to scale a DAO? Because if a DAO becomes very, very big, which actually we're seeing with developer DAO, that becomes like, okay, how do you keep members engaged? And how do you make sure that the organization remains efficient and effective? And you do see, again, that core members are being appointed. And tools are being created for like managing DAOs every day at the moment. So yeah.
Okay, I'm Jeff. Just a question. Following your idea of a member of a club, membership of a club. So, do you think the open opportunity to rent your membership, like you can some protocols allows you to rent your NFTs, or some DAOs you can rent your votes and some specific items. Do you think this apply for this kind of business, like clubs or other cultural stuff?
So this is like the use case, like proof being 100 ETH to get in, and I don't have 100 ETH to spend to enter a club, so I could rent someone's NFT to join the Discord. I mean, I think in theory it makes sense, but if you ask like Kevin Rose, would he want someone doing that for his community? Would that destroy the authenticity of the community? Probably
Yeah.
for his use case, probably wouldn't make sense. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. But if there's a business with that, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think there is something there.
I mean, I think we would leave the DAO to decide that. I think the answer is likely no, right? But yeah, I think it's somewhat challenging, right? The question is, does that deteriorate the community to a degree that you have people moving in and out? I mean, it's analogous to a lot of co-ops that you own an apartment and they don't let you rent because there are people moving in and out of the building, and they're like, who are these jokers? They're partying at the middle of the night, and why this is BS. I paid other, and then so you kind of run into those similar problems. I think we're at time, but fantastic conversation. So thanks so much, guys, for doing this, and really appreciate it.